Jennie Taer, reporter for the New York Post, joins us now. Jennie, so good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And congratulations on this scoop. I see a lot of speculation online. They're like, how did she get this? How is this even possible? This must be a setup. How did you get it? Would you explain how you ended up walking in this home?
Yeah, I mean, this is the result of the fact that the FBI left this home after raiding it without securing it. They did not make an active crime scene after they left the night before. And I saw the home, and we all saw the home.
Yeah.
Many reporters were around that area. And then we could all spot that basically the door was hanging by barely a hinge. And that's the state that it was left in by the federal authorities who had raided it. And not only that, but all of the materials in there that have been left, just hazardous chemicals, and a list of actually what they had seen during the search warrants they executed of those materials, which were the ingredients to make a pipe bomb. So this is, all just within a couple of days of the attack. And then, of course, following this video coming out today, the authorities, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the FBI returned to the scene, returned to the home, secured it by putting its fence back up, and they actually towed the terrorist's vehicle today. But when they left it originally, it was completely open and unsecured.
Yeah, I noticed in your video, you don't really physically manage anything in the home. You're not meddling with anything. You're just walking through and capturing footage, reflecting on what you're seeing. And I was struck by, there's the workbench, and it seems like there were a lot of chemicals that must have been there. The FBI even has a list of the things they took into custody, including all of these chemicals. The guy seems like he had a bomb-making workshop going on inside of this home.
Right. That's what his work table seemed to give us a glimpse into, that he had in his bedroom, where you could see he left all of his personal belongings. And we spoke to his next door neighbor, who said he spoke with the terrorist the day that he left for New Orleans, and he knew he was bound for New Orleans, and he told the neighbor that, he was moving out. It was the end of his lease on the 34th, and that, he was going to a furnished home in New Orleans and didn't need help carrying any furniture into his truck. And so that's where all of this leads us to the fact that the home looks like somebody had been there within just days. And that every, pullable left behind.
Yes.
His list book, his runs, one of them was open on the top of his bookshelf to kind of a chilling passage about martyrdom. So we kind of have, a glimpse into what state his home was in and what he was going through as he was leaving to carry out this clearly premeditated attack.
So a guy goes and barrels his car into American citizens, kills a lot of people, injures many more. You would think that the FBI, if it was trying to prevent terrorism, would be doing everything it could to quickly ascertain who he is, what his motivations were, and maybe to prevent him from doing it again. But as you describe, they didn't secure the crime scene at all. And it seems to me that your video kind of induced them to return to it and actually start working on it and securing it after you had already captured this video, as you just laid out. I mean, is it your impression that the FBI is kind of just responding to events as they happen rather than taking a proactive effort to get to the bottom of this?
Exactly. The whole theme here is that they've been extremely reactive. We saw that from the start of this, and they've made significant errors in their public messaging on this investigation. They initially told the public that this was not a terrorist act. Then they had to backtrack on that. They said this was part of a terrorist cell. Then they had to backtrack on that and say he acted alone. And now, of course, they see that the public was aware of the state of disarray and the fact that this home was open, all of the chemicals out, the fact that someone went in there and described it.
Yeah.
Now they're again being more and more reactive when it comes to this investigation.
You mentioned you talked to the neighbor and talking about the fact is that this guy claimed he was moving to a new location but didn't bring any furniture with him because it was all furnished. His new place was furnished, he claimed, to justify why he had this pickup truck and that he drove it in the end to kill all these people. What else are you hearing from the community? I know that there's a mosque that he was a member of that has tried to shut down communications with the public. What are you hearing?
Yeah, so this mosque, we've spoken to some individuals at the mosque and visited the mosque. It's down the street. It seems like the whole community goes there to worship. However, the congregants there say that they never saw him at the mosque. The next door neighbor also attended the mosque, and he told us that he never saw him there and that he found it strange. He kind of would notice that he would pray alone in his home, and we could see all of the different signs of that, his prayer rugs, his prayer books. But again, this is a majority Muslim community, and actually the street itself seems like a very tight-knit Muslim community, with many of the neighbors being from countries in South Asia. So it's a very tight-knit Muslim community.
And is anyone else speaking to you? What's their reaction to the fact that their neighbor just carried out this attack?
Yeah, so I mean, the neighbors that had interacted with him were shocked by this because they had, while limited interactions, they had this impression that he was very normal, kind, would say hi when he walked by them on the street, but there was nothing that would give them the feeling that this is someone who's radicalized and is a terrorist. And I think there's so many questions that all of us have because he didn't have such a clear path here. His family is speaking out and saying that, they, saw him kind of go off the beaten path after his many divorces. And, he found his way to Islam at some point. He is a local here. There's a lot of questions as to how someone, who served in the military, radicalized and, went against the people that he took an oath at one point to defend. And so we still don't know why or how that happened.
Yep.
Even when you have the brothers speaking out or members of the family, and it's just this big question mark in this investigation that the FBI needs to get to the bottom of.
So the FBI seems to be speaking with certainty now, Jennie Taer, although they've changed their position big time in just a 48-hour window or so. They're speaking with certainty. They say he acted alone, that he was 100% inspired by ISIS. They're acting pretty confident. They think he acted alone. What are your concerns with the FBI's assertions, if any?
I think the FBI has a lot of work to do when it comes to the public perception. When it comes to this investigation, they have dropped the ball on public messaging, like I said, with saying this was not a terrorist act, then having to backtrack that, and other details that were key to this investigation and to, public perception. And on top of that, their job in securing communities and ensuring that these things don't happen is also on the line, that people are looking at their reputation now. And, why was this not thwarted before it happened when this individual was posting on social media? There were outward signs of his intentions here. And it's very alarming, I think, to the public to see that the FBI goes after, mothers, helping their kids with school and just hoping they get a good education, or they go after certain religious groups, and at the same time dropping the ball on such big, major investigations that relate to national security.
Yeah, especially because the FBI is now claiming that they've got all this evidence demonstrating that this guy was radicalized at least as late as last summer, that he was 100% inspired by ISIS. All these social media videos indicating his desire to conduct this attack. And, You do wonder to what extent the FBI missed this because of opportunity cost. They were focused on all of the wrong things, criminalizing standard fare American political exchanges rather than trying to prevent these types of terror attacks.
Right, exactly. And I think it's something that has to be assessed, and especially now as well with the military, because we see that both of the terrorists in the Las Vegas attack, in the New Orleans attack, were both veterans, and so, or were both in the military, and so that's a big thread to all of this, and something that also the Department of Defense, I think, has to look at when it comes to this issue. You know, I'm sure that the FBI will look into this, but you know, we need answers on this. The American people need answers. It's still, again, not clear when or how or even why this individual, this terrorist, became radicalized.
Yeah. And meanwhile, remember, it was 2021 that the Biden administration issued this stand-down order to the military. They were trying to root out anybody who may have thought that January 6th was a justified protest. That's what they focused on, and instead of stopping the kind of terror attack we saw, especially play out in New Orleans. It's unbelievable. Jennie Taer, thank you for just being a great reporter, for digging in, and for sharing your findings with us today. Great to talk to you as always. Happy New Year.
Thank you.